Okay, so here we are in After Effects. We're going to do some motion tracking. I'm just going to import the footage. Now I have this footage here that I converted to TIFF. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the default settings. And now that I have this footage up in here, I'm going to right click, new comp from selection. Now I have this composition. And if you have these three settings here, that's for normally when you're doing any sort of tracking and you want to see the 3D camera. But if you don't want that, you go down here and you go to one view. Make sure you're on active camera. Okay, so I click the composition here, and I can right click it, track camera or track motion, but I want to track the camera. It's going to start analyzing, and you can see the progress of the analysis right here in the settings. So you can see 7%. It's pretty fast. This is not a very long clip. Right now what it's doing is analyzing all these tracking points that I have up in here and all these different colors. It's not necessarily going to worry about the green. It's worrying about specular highlights and different angular parts of the footage that'll allow it to lock onto and track the patterns as the camera moves. And I purposely track that particular angle that I'm tracking in right now because it's a little harder to track certain features. It's not very well lit. I did that on purpose to see how good of a track I can get. These tracking points that you see here, like this one here, this one here, this one, and all these other things that I have there, are mainly for the 3D, so I can track the 3D objects from another shot that we'll be doing later on. So let's just go ahead and skip ahead. The good thing about this solver is that it does everything in the background. Okay, so you can be moving around and doing all sorts of other things while this is working. Once it's done, you can click on the tracker, the 3D camera tracker here, and you'll start seeing all these points in time. Now all of those points in time are representative of patterns that the computer was able to track. Now if I scrub through this, you'll start to see that those tracking points are now following the motion of the camera and tracking points in the background. I want to bring it back to the start of the footage, and I want to go ahead and increase the size of these tracking points, so I can increase the size so I can see them a little bit better. And also this target size, I can change the size of that. So now you can see I have a larger target, and the target is actually connecting to 3 points on the footage that I have here. It's triangulating, so that way if it loses track of one point, it can kind of mathematically figure out where the other points are, even if it loses track of one point. I can have it render out those tracking points so I have a better sense of where they are in time and space. If for whatever reason you do not see your tracking points, let's say you're clicking around, you don't see your tracking points, well, that's because you have to click the layer either down here in the timeline or click it up here, the composition, and then you have to click in the effects control window, you'll go ahead and click the effect itself, and then you'll start seeing those points again. Now what I have to do now is I have to go ahead and create a camera. I don't want to create a camera just yet. The reason is because I want to show you how you can add stuff up in here immediately without having to worry about putting the footage that you actually want here. So let's say I click on one of these. I can actually allow the system to choose the 3 points that it wants, or I can click on 3 points. So I'm shift clicking, and those are the 3 points that I'm going to use, or I can just go ahead and shift click this and use these 3 points. Okay, these 3 points seem more in line with what I want. It's in line with that monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text here, and I know the initialization point on text is at the left side, the bottom left. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move this to the bottom left of this polygon, I mean this triangle, and then I'm going to right click it, and now I can go ahead and create text and camera, solid and camera, null and camera. Now the create null and camera is normally what I would do because I want to position things, and then I'll add something on top of that null and have it follow the null or replace the null, one of the two. But for right now, just because we're just showing how this works, I'm going to go to create text and camera, and that's exactly what it does. It creates a camera and it creates the text. And now when I scroll through, the text will follow as if it was inside the scene. And it's a pretty good track. I mean, just for fooling around and doing this very fast, it's pretty good track. Now obviously that would be an issue, that the hand is in that the text is in front of the hand. But remember, what I'm going to eventually do is I'm going to matte this green out, and the text will go behind there, so the text will be inside the monitor. It won't be on top of the hand. So that's not an issue. Second thing is there's a little bit of blur back here, and in order to solve that, what I want to do is I want to go to my camera. I'm going to double click that, and my camera settings will come up here, and then I'll go ahead and enable first enable preview, and then enable depth of field, and then I can start manipulating these numbers here in order to match my actual camera. And once I match my actual camera, this text will then act as if it was inside the scene. So there you go. And this is how you do motion tracking in After Effects. There's obviously a lot more to it when you want to do something a little bit more dynamic, like moving parts on people or anything like that. But I'm just going to be tracking interface. So it's basically the exact same concept. Just take a little bit more time on what you're doing so it's not as sloppy. Alright folks, so if you have any questions, go ahead and put it on this YouTube channel, and if you have any suggestions, put it up there also, or you can email me. Alright, I'll see you guys later.